recording this one. Yeah, good evening to all the learners and the academic counselor, Dr. Srinivas Rao, for
Good evening,
today's session. And I hope you all have enjoyed the yesterday session and the continuation of the yesterday session. Today, we are conducting this. Any doubts related to the course, you can ask the academic counselor, and you make the class live and have the more interaction. And yesterday also we had the discussion. Dr. Srinivas Rao told he will make more effective to the some PPT. He told his technical problem also. Then, however, he is taking the session good. I hope you are all enjoying. Please continue the same. I wish you all the best. Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Srinivas Rao ji. Please go
Thank
ahead.
you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Good evening, my dear learners.
Sir.
So yesterday, so we had a discussion on what is growth, and especially what are the main parameters for what are the main parameters for the growth. We have already discussed the last class. There are four important the major parameters for growth of any economy. We have discussed very clearly. I just want to test whether you have caught that points or not. Could you please say what are the four major parameters for growth of economy? I said for the last 10 minutes of the class before ending the class yesterday. Hello. You please respond. Whatever it is, doesn't matter. Please, you can say whether it is correct or wrong. You don't worry.
Okay. Capital output ratio,
Yes, capital output ratio, right?
occupational structure, and technical progress. And one
Capital output ratio. After that,
occupational structure,
right? Occupational structure.
technical progress,
Sorry, Amma.
technical progress.
Technical progress. 3.
Okay.
Yes. So, occupational structure, the technical progress, and capital output ratio. And we have discussed one important concept: limitations of this. No, the for the limitations also we have discussed yesterday. There are 4 limitations. Am I correct? Yeah. What are those 4 limitations?
Inequality of income,
Sorry,
population,
Amma.
inequality of income, pollution,
Right.
loss of a natural resources, renewable and non-renewable.
No. Loss of non-renewable resources.
Okay,
Only non-renewable. Yeah.
okay.
Right. Yeah. Then pollution externalities.
Pollution.
Yeah. Negative externality, right?
Uh,
Right. Okay. So now, yesterday we have started Harek Domer growth model, which is very important in this growth economics. The growth of economy simply that depends on savings of a country or savings of an economy. You please remember this. The growth of any economy depends on savings of the country, because we have already discussed capital accumulation is very important for all types of production of goods and services. The capital accumulation depends on investment. Investment depends on savings. You know, Y is equal to C plus S, where Y represents income of the consumer or income of the country as a whole, and C represents consumption, S represents savings. So every individual's income can be split into two parts, consumption part and saving part. Whatever income we earn, some part of the income could be spent on purchase of goods and services, and a part of income would be saved. When it is possible, if our income level is more, that means there is an autonomous consumption also. When income is zero, then also there would be some minimum level of consumption expenditure for every individual. We have to spend some amount on purchase of goods and services to lead our life in the society, even when income is zero. So, when income is zero, the minimum level of consumption would be there for every individual. That minimum level of consumption, in absence of zero level of income, is called autonomous consumption. After that, if income increases gradually, then we can meet this particular expenditure level. Once we meet the expenditure level, whatever income is left with an individual, it has to be saved. But if we go to discuss further, we have to remember another important point here. Why represents income of the consumer? All the income which is earned by an individual, it is not the income which he can spend on goods and services. It doesn't have the right to spend all that income what he has earned, because he has to pay some tax to the government. So Y minus PT, income minus personal taxes, is equal to DY or DPY, disposable personal income. So your income is, say, for example, 10 lakh rupees per annum. Income tax, say, for example, 40,000. Remaining 9 lakh 60,000 is the income which can be disposed of. That means you are eligible to spend that 9 lakh 60,000 income. Despite you have earned 10 lakh, you cannot spend all 10 lakh rupees on the purchase of goods and services, because we are in the society, there is a government, we have to pay some personal tax to the government. After paying tax, whatever amount is left with you, that is the disposed income. That is the income which can be disposed of. You are eligible to spend 9,60,000 after paying 40,000 personal taxes, or 50,000 personal taxes, 9,50,000 you can spend. So the out of 9,60,000 rupees, whatever amount you spend on the goods and services, purchase of goods and services, the remaining amount would be saved. So every individual's income can be split into two parts after paying taxes, that is consumption part and saving part. This saving would be an investment. The basis for investment is saving. This investment will become the capital. The capital accumulation is very important. The capital accumulation is very important. The net addition to the stock of the capital is called investment. What is the meaning of investment? It is the net addition to the stock of the capital. So, for example, the stock of the capital, the machines and parts of machinery and other fixtures and instruments and tools, so for example, 2 lakh rupees. That is your capital amount in our factory. That is the stock of capital. So whatever newly purchased the machines and parts of machinery, if we add, say, for example, 70,000 worth of the machinery to the stock of capital 2 lakh rupees, now your capital will become 2,60,000 rupees. So how much you have invested? 60,000 rupees we have invested newly. So it is a net addition. Already you have 2 lakh rupees capital. So what is the net addition here? Now total has become 2,60,000. Now net addition 60,000. Net addition to the stock of the capital. Already existing capital 2 lakh rupees. Now it has become 2,60,000 rupees. So newly how much has added? 60,000 rupees. Net addition to the stock of capital is called as investment. This investment depends on savings. So saving would become an investment would become a capital. The capital is the main source for the growth of economy. Please remember this one. And by using this capital, an economy produces different kinds of goods and services. They produce different kinds of goods and services. And again, in turn, the goods and services which have been produced by business sector, these goods and services are bought by the household sector. The household sector will earn money from the business sector by rendering their services. Again, the income which has earned by household sector can be spent on the purchase of goods and services which are being produced by business. This is a continuous process. This is simply called as circular flow of economy. A two sector circular flow, three sector circular flow, four sector circular. Two sector and three sector are called as closure economy, four sector called as open economy. In two sector, we have two sectors, that is household sector, business sector. And three sector, intervention of the government, state. Two sector, in three sector, business sector, household sector, business sector, and government sector. When government sector is there, we have to pay tax to the government. Might have been already taught in +1, +2 level. For our simple understanding, there is a only simple economy without government. If we assume that there is a simple economy without government, there are no leakages. If government is not there, no need to pay any tax. Whatever amount we have earned by rendering services, that all that amount can be spent on purchase of goods and services. So, for example, if we earn 1,000 rupees by rendering our services, this 1,000 rupees comes from simply business sector because we are rendering services towards production of goods and services. So, whatever income is earned by households and whatever income is spent by business sector on hiring these factor inputs, again this income simply goes back to the business sector. It is two sector model, simple economic. There are no leakages. But when the government is involved, the state intervention is there, then definitely there would be a tax system. We have to pay tax to the government. But if external sector also includes, that is international trade, foreign trade, then it is called as four sector economy. Four sector economy is simply known as what we call open economy. Open economy, that means exports and imports are there. So we import many goods from other countries, at the same time we export many goods to other countries. So in this 2-3 sector model, if you remember this particular point, whatever income is earned by households, it has to be spent on the purchase of goods and services. So it can automatically improve the employment, and automatically the employment will increase the income level of the people. That is very important. So finally, growth of economy depends on savings. Some part of income would be saved. That is very important. This is simply growth of economy. But very important point in this Harry-Domer model, the old classical economists focused and they considered only supply side of capital accumulation. They didn't consider demand side of capital accumulation. They have taken into consideration only supply side of capital accumulation. What is the supply side of capital accumulation here? Can you say? Supply side of capital accumulation. What does it mean? For the capital accumulation, what is the source? I already told you. I have given one example. 2 lakh capital accumulation is there. And the next year, the capital accumulation, capital is accumulated from 2 lakh to 2,60,000 rupees. That 60,000 rupees is the investment. Am I correct? This investment depends on savings. Is it right or not?
Yes, sir.
So, old classical economics focused and considered only supply side of capital accumulation. They didn't consider demand side, because what they thought that they thought that the supply creates its own demand. If you observe, if you study the JBC market law, you would easily understand. According to JBC, supply creates its own demand. So based on that, they consider only supply side of capital accumulation. That is only savings. What is the supply side of capital accumulation? If we have more savings, then automatically investment would be more, capital accumulation also would be increased. So higher the savings, higher would be the investment and higher would be the capital. Lower the savings, lower would be the investment and lower would be the capital accumulation. That is supply side. But whereas J.M. Keynes, he considered and he has taken into consideration only demand side, that is investment. Old classical economists considered savings, that is supply side of capital accumulation, and J.M. Keynes considered only demand side of capital accumulation, that is investment. So when we want to start the business, we demand more investment. We want to invest more. If we want to start a particular business, we require some investment. So we are demanding investment. So J.M. Keynes considered only demand side of capital accumulation. It didn't consider supply side. But old classical economists only focused on supply side of capital accumulation. They didn't concentrate on demand side of capital, that is investment. Supply side of capital accumulation, that is only supply. Demand side of capital accumulation, that is investment. So old classical economists focused on savings, supply. J.M. Keynes considered on investment, demand side, supply, savings, supply side, investment, demand side. That's it. Now the problem is both are not correct. There would be an equilibrium actually. Supply and demand must be equal. So that Harrod and Domer, please.
Yes, investment also comes into work economics. I think savings and
Your
investment both is
your
somewhere
voice is
like.
not your voice is not clear. Amma, can you type? Can you text a message now?
Yes,
Your
sir.
voice is
Yes,
not clear.
yes, sir. I will type a message.
Yeah, please. Now, meanwhile, continue. You can text a message. So the Harrod and Domer model of growth theory, simply called as integration of the combination of both classical, old classical, as well as James. So they are focused on okay, we'll discuss, sure. Right. So Harrod and Domer focused on both the sides of capital accumulation, that is supply side and demand side. They have concentrated on both the sides of capital accumulation, that is supply side of capital accumulation, savings, and demand side of capital accumulation investing. So it is called an integration of both old classical and J.M. Keynes theories. So they focused on both the sides of capital accumulation. They didn't neglect any one of these two sides. They focused on both. So what are the main assumptions of Harry-Domar model of growth theory? Please note down some assumptions. Harry-Domar growth theory. చార్జర్ పట్టరా ఒకసారి వీడియో ఆఫ్ చేస్తాను ఛార్జింగ్ ఓకే రైట్ you please note down assumptions of Harry-Domar model. First one, Harry-Domar model assumptions. First one, can you write now? Shall I go ahead? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please note down.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Yesterday we have already I
Um,
think assumptions of Harry-Domar model, correct?
Last assumption was one type of product only.
Okay, right.
Last one.
Okay, don't worry. Now take down Harriet's model of economic growth. In this Harriet-Domar, now we are going to discuss Harriet model. We will discuss Domar model. Now assumptions of Harriet model, not Harriet-Domar model. Assumptions of Harriet-Domar, not Harriet-Domar. Assumptions of Harriet. First one, constant returns to scale. Assumptions of Harriet. Constant returns to scale. Second one, the capital output and labor output. The capital output and labor output ratios are assumed to be constant. Third one, the level of ex ante aggregate savings. Ex ante aggregate savings. The level of ex ante aggregate saving is a constant proportion of aggregate income. Constant proportion of aggregate income. Next one, The overall effect of technical progress. The overall effect of technical progress is neutral. The overall effect of technical progress is neutral. The entrepreneurs desire to undertake investment. The entrepreneurs desire to undertake investment depending on how quickly output is increasing. How quickly output is increasing. So I tell you in a nutshell, what are the 5 assumptions of Harvard model of growth? Constant returns to scale, CSR, the capital output and the labor output ratios are assumed to be constant. The level of ex ante aggregate savings is a constant proportion of aggregate income. The overall effect of technical progress is neutral. The entrepreneurs desire to undertake investment depending on how quickly output is increasing. These 5 are the assumptions of Harvard model of growth. Constant returns to scale. How much percentage of scale of inputs we use, the output also is equal to that particular inputs. If we increase 10% of inputs, output also would be increased 10%. That is constant returns to scale. Returns to scale, increasing returns IR, constant returns CR, and decreasing returns DR. And the capital output and labor output ratios. How many capital units we are using per 1 unit of output, and how many labor units we are using per 1 unit of output. These 2 ratios are assumed to be constant. There is no change. And the level of ex aggregate savings. What is it? We might have already been taught ex ante investment and what we call here ex ante savings actually. Ex ante savings and ex post. Ex ante, ex post. It is related, even if we remember ex ante investment, ex post investment, you will easily understand ex ante saving and ex ante ex post savings also. So, but because in +1, +2 level, there is a topic regarding this ex ante and ex post investment. So, for example, here if we take ex ante savings means this is a desired saving and a planned saving. How much we want to save? What is our plan to save? So, we plan to save, say, for example, 1 lakh rupees. But we don't know exactly whether it is possible or not. What actually saved, that is ex post, ex ante, what we have planned. So, for example, this year we are planning to save 2 lakh rupees. We want to save 2 lakh rupees. We are planning to save 2 lakh rupees this year. That is ex ante. What is ex post? What actually saved? So, the plan might be executed or not. Sometimes it may not be possible. So if you save exactly 2 lakh rupees, it is okay. Or else, if you save only 1 lakh rupees, so what actually saved, that is ex post. So ex ante aggregate saving, desired and planned saving is constant proportion of aggregate income. So aggregate income and aggregate saving is constant proportion. There is no increasing and decreasing, constant. Just like constant returns to scale, we have already discussed. And fourth one, The overall effect of technical progress is neutral. No change of technical progress. Overall effect because of this technical progress, there is no any change. It is neutral. And entrepreneurs desire to undertake investment depending on how quickly output is increasing. So if output is increasing very quickly, definitely they undertake more investment. If output will not increase quickly, they are not interested to undertake investment. Because if there is a long gap between undertaking the investment and output, definitely it would affect their financial levels because they have to pay more interest. If there would be a more gap, definitely they have to pay more interest. Now, please take down explanation of Harrod model of growth. Explanation of Harrod model of growth of economics or growth of economics. Professor R. F. Harrod, Professor R. F. Harrod raised the following three main issues. The following three main issues. First one, how can how can study growth rate how can study growth rate be achieved? How can study growth rate be achieved? In the model with a fixed capital output ratio, a fixed capital output ratio and the fixed saving income ratio, the fixed saving income ratio second one, how can the study growth rate be maintained? How can the study growth rate be maintained? Or continue the same sentence. Or what are the conditions? What are the conditions for maintaining the stable growth? What are the conditions for maintaining the stable growth? Next one, third main issue which he has raised. How do the natural factors how do the natural factors put a ceiling on put a ceiling on the growth rate?
Excuse me, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. How do the
This is the third
natural
factor, right?
sorry Amma?
This is the third factor, right, sir? Now what you're saying?
The third assumption the third major issue which is raised by Harry We are discussing now. The third one is, how do the natural factors put a ceiling on the growth rate of the economy? A ceiling on growth rate of the economy. Okay, did you all right? Hello?
Yes, yes, sir.
Right, right. Now, please note down, Harrod model based on the following three distinct rates of growth. Harrod-Domer model is based on the following three distinct rates of growth. So he has given this model based on three important rates of growth. So the Harrod model of growth depend on three distinct rates of growth. What are those three distinct rates? Please note down. First one, actual growth rate. Actual growth rate. Second one, warranted growth rate. Warranted growth rate. Actual growth rate. Second one, warranted. WARRANTED, warranted growth rate. Third one, natural growth rate. Natural growth rate. Actual growth rate is denoted by G. Warranted growth rate is represented by GW. Natural growth rate is represented by GN. Write down in brackets. Annual growth rate G. Warranted growth rate GW. Natural growth rate GN. So G stands for annual growth rate. GW stands for warranted growth rate. GN stands for natural growth rate. Now, let's have an insight on what is actual growth rate, which was given by Harrod. The actual growth rate is denoted by G. Just now we have already written. The actual growth rate is determined by the saving ratio and capital output ratio. Actual growth rate is determined by saving ratio and capital output ratio. Okay, na? So simply, this actual growth rate indicates cyclical variations in the growth rate. Cyclical variations in the growth rate. So growth rate is determined by the actual amount of saving. The beginning of the class we have already discussed. The growth of economy finally depends on saving part. Savings. So growth rate is determined by the actual amount of saving and investment available in the economy. How much amount we are going to be saved and how much amount we are going to be invested. So that is very important. The savings and investment both are very important. Of course, without savings you cannot expect investment. So finally, savings are very important for the growth of any economy in the world. So the growth rate is determined by the actual amount of saving. This is not X. Actual saving means this is not desired. What is the desired? That is ex ante. And actual, this is ex post. You desire to save, say for example, 1 lakh rupees, but you have actually saved 50,000 rupees. 1 lakh rupees is ex ante, 50,000 rupees is ex post. Now, please note down, this is a very important equation. Please note down. Dormer model based on the following equation. Dormer model based on the following equation. Please note down. GC is equal to S. I'll try to write on the notebook because I don't have that equipment right now. GC is equal to S. Did you write, Amma? GC is equal to S. You please write down this. GC is equal to S. GC is equal to S.
Done.
GC is equal to S.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now, please note down. G represents the rate of growth of output. The G represents the rate of growth of output. The rate of growth of output. In brackets, after output in brackets, please write down income. That is income. G is equal to the rate of growth of outputs. In bracket, that is income. Because the value of output of goods and services, the value of output of goods and services is the income of the households. It is the income of the households. The value of output 1 lakh, households income 1 lakh. Because to produce this 1 lakh worth of goods and services, the business sector and business units and the entrepreneurs have to hire the factor inputs, land, labor, capital, organization. So to produce this output, they have to hire factor input, they have to pay the remuneration, the fact they have to make factor payments for this output in terms of wage goes to labor, rent goes to land, and interest goes to capital, profit goes to enterprise. So 1 lakh rupees worth of output is a 1 lakh rupees income of households. 2 lakh rupees worth of output, 2 lakh rupees income of households. So G is equal to rate of growth of output, that is income. Now, after this, we have already written GC is equal to S. Now, please note down. After that, continue. The ratio of increase in output. Continue the same sentence after incoming brackets. The ratio of increase in output to the total output. The ratio of increase in output to the total output in any unit period. In any unit period. So G represents the rate of growth of output. What is the rate of growth of output? That is the ratio of increase in output to the total output in any unit period. That is growth, the rate of growth of output. So it can be written as, if you want to know the rate of growth of output, that is simply we have to know the ratio. I already told you it is the ratio of increase in output to the total output. To the total output. Total output, say for example, 1 lakh or 2,000, 3,000 or 2 lakh. So what is the increase in ratio of the total output? So it can be written as, please note down after this, G is equal to, see this one, G is equal to delta Y by Y. G is equal to delta Y by Y. G is equal to delta Y by Y. So this is the rate of growth of output, the symbolical equation. So we have already discussed G represents the rate of growth of output. That is the ratio of increase in output to the total output in any unit period. It can be written as G is equal to delta Y by Y. Now note down, delta Y represents increase in output. Increase in output. Delta Y, increase in output. Just a minute, Amma. Okay. Please. Delta Y represents increase in output. But actually delta represents change in output. Change in output. Now, what is Y? Y is equal to or Y stands for total output. Total output. Y stands for total output. Delta Y stands for increase in output. Y stands for total output or initial output. Initial output 1 lakh worth of goods. I am not talking about number of units. 1 lakh worth of goods. So for example, increase in output. If 1 lakh worth of output will become 1,25,000. Now a change in output, increase in output, delta Y 25,000. Already initial output was there 1 lakh. Now the new output has added 25,000. So this 25,000 is simply called as change in output or increase in output, delta Y. So delta Y change in output, Y total output. Now after this, C represents in the First equation, I already told you, DOMOT mainly focus on this model of growth based on this equation GC is equal to S. So we have finished what is G. G, the rate of growth of output. The rate of growth of output can be written as symbolical delta Y by Y. What is delta Y? Delta Y stands for increase in output. Y stands for total output. Now we are going to focus on C. What is C? Please note down. C represents C represents C represents the increase in capital, during the period, the increase in capital during the period, maybe 1 year, accounting year, divided by the increase in output. Increase in output. Increase in capital divided by increase in output during the period. A given accounting year you can write simply. C represents the increase in capital divided by the increase in output during the given accounting year or during the period. You can write. So it can be written as, now C is equal to, it is the C represents increase in capital during the period is divided by increase in output during that period. So that can be written as C is equal to I by delta Y. C is equal to this one, I by delta Y. I by delta Y. Note down what I represents. I represents increase in capital, while delta Y stands for increase in output. And continue.
Total output or output, sir?
Yeah. I represents the increase in capital, while delta Y represents or stands for the increase in output. Simply, C is the ratio. Simply, C is the ratio of increase in capital. C is the ratio of increase in capital to C is the ratio of increase in capital to increase in output. Increase in capital to increase in output. I have already written. C represents the increase in capital during the period divided by the increase in output during that period. So simply C is the ratio of increase in capital to the increase in output during the given period of time, during the financial year or accounting year. Now C is completed. In this equation, GC is equal to S. G is completed. G can be written as delta Y by Y. C is completed. C can be written as I by delta Y. Now we're left with S. Please note down S. S is equal to S is equal to S by Y. S by Y. It is simply S is average propensity to save. S is equal to S by Y. Average propensity to save. S is equal to S by Y. Okay, na? Now this is equation 1. Actually, GC is equal to S. This is equation 1. And we have rewritten what is G and what is C and what is S. Now we have to substitute this. And if you rearrange that G C is equal to S can be written as GC is equal to S. I wrote here, underline, GC is equal to S. What is G? Delta Y by Y. Delta Y by Y. GC. Delta Y by Y into what is C? I by delta Y. I by delta Y. GC is equal to S. G delta Y by Y into C I by delta Y. Sorry. That equals to S. GC is equal to S. S we have already written here last. S is equal to S by Y. Now S by Y. I underline here. GC is equal to S. Delta Y by Y into I by delta Y is equal to S by Y. We rearrange this equation. Delta Y by Y into I by delta Y is equal to S by Y. That equals to, you can written as delta Y by Y into I by delta Y is equal to S by Y. We can written as, in other words, R I by Y. I by Y is equal to S by Y. If we cancel these two, I by Y or I by Y is equal to S by Y. S by Y is there, same, S by Y. Now this equals to simply R I is equal to S. That's all. I is equal to S. Finally, we got this equation. I is equal to S. Okay, na? Finally, we got this equation. I is equal to S. That means investment is equal to saving. Finally, we have arrived at this particular point. I is equal to S. Investment is equal to saving. If you want me to explain once again this equation, I will explain.
Yes, yes, sir.
Shall I
Please,
repeat?
yes, yes, sir.
Sure, sure, sure.
సో ఫస్ట్ సార్ అది చూపించండి సార్. ఫస్ట్ నోట్ డౌన్ చేసుకుంటాం, తర్వాత ఎక్స్‌ప్లెయిన్ చేయండి సార్.
Sure, Ram, definitely.
కంప్లీట్‌లీ కనబడట్లేదు.
Sure, Ram, definitely. I'll write once again, please. GC is equal to S. So here GC delta Y by G is equal to Y by C is equal to I by S is equal to S by GC is equal to S. Can you see now?
యెస్ సార్. యెస్ సార్.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Done, sir. All done.
So Domer model mainly depends on this equation. GC is equal to S. We have already discussed what is G.
Sir, hello.
I think you are trying to speak something. I am very sorry, I couldn't listen carefully what you are speaking. It is not audible. So G can be written as delta Y by Y. C can be written as I by delta Y. And S can be written as S by Y.
Sir, S can be written as a S by Y, but
Yes.
you said S represents average propensity, but in that
Yeah.
Y, what one represents
Income.
income, sir. Okay.
Income. On an average, per every 1 rupee or 100 rupees or 10 rupees, how much we are saving? Average propensity to
Okay.
save. APS. You would have already been taught this topic in plus 2 level. What is APS? What is MPS? What is APC? What is MPC? Marginal propensity to consume. Average propensity to consume. Average propensity to save. Marginal propensity to save.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Right.
Sir, while I'm speaking, disturbance will come because I'm working travel.
Okay, don't worry. You can carry on, please. If you want to speak anything, please text me. I'll explain.
Okay. Thank you.
Right. No problem. Now we have to rearrange this equation. Simply, we have to substitute these values in G. C is equal to S. Simple. What is G? I have written here delta Y by Y. So please write in place of G delta Y by Y. Take the same equation now. GC is equal to S. Now write in place of G. We have already written G is equal to delta Y by Y. Delta Y by Y into GC means here G into C. What is C we have already written? I by delta Y. I wrote here is equal to S. What is S? S by Y.
Yes, sir.
Nothing new in this equation. Whatever we have already written very clearly what is G, what is C and what is S, we have just rearranged this equation. GC is equal to S. We have just substituted what is G, what is C, what is S. That's all. This is also simply G, C is equal to S. Or we can written as ORR. By cancelling this delta y, we have only I by y. I by y, we have already S by y in the equation is equal to S by y. This is simply 1. I by y is equal to S by y. Here y in the denominator, that is 1 simply. So I is equal to S. Finally, we have arrived at I is equal to S equation. That means investment is equal to saving. What we have already discussed in the beginning of this class, growth depends on savings. Saving would become an investment, investment would become a capital accumulation. Simply capital. The capital accumulation depends on increase in investment. If there is no increase in investment, there is no question of increase in capital also. What is capital? It is the net addition to the stock of capital. We have started business which is worth of 10 lakh rupees. So we have purchased machinery and stock and all those things, capital. The capital of the business 10 lakh rupees. Next year, to expand your business, if you add extra 2 lakh rupees to the stock of capital 10 lakh, now how much net addition is there? 2 lakh rupees. That is an investment. 2 lakh rupees is an investment. So what is the meaning of investment? It is the net addition to the stock of capital. What is the stock of capital? 10 lakh we have already started the business last year. This year we have added extra 2 lakh rupees investment. So this 2 lakh rupees investment is called as net addition to the stock of capital. So if you will be asked the question, what is the meaning of investment? You have to write investment is simply investment is known as it is the net addition to the stock of capital. I am not going to give much details because stock of capital is simply what we call, you know, I hope you already understood what is the flow concept and stock concept. Flow and
Yes,
stock.
sir. Yes,
Yeah,
yes. I'm
stocks are
aware.
defined at a particular point of time. Yeah, Rakesh, please tell me. Stocks are defined at a particular point of time. Flows are defined over a period of time. So here, change in stock. Change in stock. Tell me, is change in stock flow variable or stock variable? Change in capital. Stock means capital. Change in capital, so for example. Change in capital. Is it stock variable or flow variable?
Flow variable.
Yes. Change in stock flow variable because that change happens over a period of time. You have started your business with 10 lakh rupees last year. In the last 1 year, you have invested the extra 2 lakh rupees. This extra 2 lakh rupees has invested by you over a period of time, not at a particular point of time. So this is flow variable, change in stock flow variable, and particular value of the capital, that is stock variable. Is it clear now? So finally, I is equal to S. This is the equation. Did you write this equation clearly now?
Yes, yes, sir. Already done.
Right, right. Now I just off my video. Now, please. After this equation, please note down. Harriet further takes S and I in the X and T sets. Saving and investment. We consider saving and investment in the X and T sense. X and T, I already told you. Decide what we are planning. What actually happened, that is exposed. To maintain full employment, the X and T, what's the meaning of X and T? What we are planning. So to maintain full employment, the X and T, that is planned in brackets. The X and T, planned. To maintain full employment, the X and T saving, out of full employment income must be offset by an equal amount of X and T investment. The X and T saving must be equal to X and T investment. What we are planning to save, it must be equal to the investment what we are planning to invest. So both are X and T, that is saving and investments, both are X and T. The Harriet Domar further takes this S, that is saving, and I, investment, in the sense that is X and T. What we are planning to save, it must be equal to what we are planning to invest. That's all. Now please note down warranted growth rate. Second, the Harriet's model based on the following three distinct rates of growth we have already written: actual growth rate and warranted growth rate. Sorry, actual growth rate, warranted growth rate, and natural growth rate. Total 3 rates of growth. As of now, we have discussed actual growth rate. I already told you, actual growth rate is determined by the saving ratio and capital output ratio. That means the growth rate is determined by the actual amount of saving and investment available in the economy, available in the country. Now write down warranted growth rate. It refers to that growth rate of the economy, when it is working at the full capacity, by making by making the full and optimum use of machine, optimum use of machine and manpower, machine and manpower, full and optimum use of machine and manpower, warranted growth rate GW refers to that growth rate of the economy when it is working at the full capacity by making the full and optimum use of machine and manpower. Of course, the full employment level can be attained, but I've already studied this concept, until the complete use of idle resources. Whatever idle resources are there in the economy, all such idle resources must be engaged in the production process, then the full employment level can be attained. The full employment level can be attained only by using the total resources, all the idle resources in the economy. Now, continue. It is also known as full capacity growth rate. Full capacity growth rate. Or full employment growth rate, or potential growth rate. The warranted growth rate, also known as full capacity growth rate, full employment growth rate, or potential growth rate. So we have already written this growth rate, warranted growth rate, or full employment growth rate is simply denoted by GW. GW. Now, warranted, please note down the next slide. Warranted growth rate is determined by two factors. Capital output ratio and saving income ratio. Capital output ratio. How many units of capital we are using per unit of a good of X or Y, and how much we are saving per unit of money, that is rupee, say for example. The relationship between the warranted growth rate and its determinants can be expressed with the help of the equation and formula. Please note down. The warranted growth rate and its determinants can be expressed in the following equation. GWCR is equal to S. GWCR is equal to S. Alright, and I will show now. Please wait. GW, this is equation 2. CR is equal to S. GW, warranted growth rate. Warranted growth rate. CR, capital required to maintain growth. Capital required to maintain growth rate. S is equal to saving income ratio. Saving income ratio. Warranted growth rate can be written as GWCR is equal to S. GWCR is equal to S. GW represented warranted growth rate. CR represents capital required to maintain growth rate. S represents saving income ratio. Saving income ratio. How much amount we are saving per unit of income? For every 1 rupee, how much we are saving? That is a saving income ratio. This is warranted growth rate equation. GWCR is equal to S. Now please note down what is this GW. I mean CR and S. You have S. I think I hope you have already written. Now please note down after this equation. It expresses the equilibrium condition of steady growth. It expresses the equilibrium conditions for a steady growth of the economy. Okay, na? Now write down after that. GW represents the rate of growth that is delta y by y. The rate of growth that is delta y by y. Which will make the entrepreneur satisfied with the actual investment. which will make the entrepreneur satisfied with the actual investment. CR is the capital required to ensure a warranted rate of growth. CR is the capital required to ensure the warranted rate of growth. I by Y. Now, please note down. GC is equal to S. Just write down roughly. I will show once again this equation. GC is equal to S.
Sir, you said IC I by Y.
Yeah. I by Y.
Oh,
That is here, Amma. CR.
okay, sir. Okay, sir. Understand.
Yeah. I write once again. Please write. GW. That is equal to delta Y by Y. CR is equal to I by delta Y. Now, two equations. Two equations are GC is equal to S, that is one, and GW CR is equal to S. Therefore, this GC is equal to GW CR. This is the original one. GW CR is equal to S. We have already written warranted growth rate, capital required to maintain growth rate, and yes, saving income ratio. GW delta Y by this is Y delta Y by Y, and CR is equal to I by delta Y. Now these two equations are we can written as GW CR is equal to S. What is GW? Delta Y by Y. What is CR? I by delta Y. So now take these two first of all, G and C. GC is equal to S. GC is equal to S. So GWCR is equal to S. GC is equal to S. So GWCR is equal to S. So since GWCR is equal to S, GWCR is equal to S, we have already written GC is equal to S. GC is equal to S, we have already written. GWCR is equal to S, also we have already written. Since GWCR is equal to S, this GC is equal to S. What is S? We have already written. GWCR. So GC, this GC is equal to S. We have already written S here. S is equal to GWCR. So GC is equal to GWCR. GC is equal to S. We have taken only G and C. GC is equal to S. Then GWCR is equal to S. In two ways we have written this one. GC is equal to S, GWCR is equal to S. So since GWCR is equal to S, then in place of G is equal to S, we can written the S values. S is equal to GWCR. So GC is equal to, in place of S, we have written GWCR. This is warranted growth rate equation. Equation 2. Now, natural growth rate. Natural growth rate. Of course, before writing this natural growth rate, please. The actual growth rate G, the actual growth rate G exceeds GW. The actual growth rate G exceeds GW, warranted rate of growth, comma, C, actual capital accumulation. Actual capital accumulation must be less than CR. C must be less than CR. Sorry, C, capital accumulation, it must be less than CR, capital accumulation required for study advance, study growth. C must be less than CR. Which means that, continue. Which means that the actual quantity of capital goods, the actual quantity of capital goods would be less than the desired quantity of capital goods. The desired quantity of capital goods. It means that there is a shortage of capital. There is a shortage of capital goods. Cannot continue in the, please note down important points after that. So when there is a, just listen, when there is a shortage of capital goods, then what will happen immediately? The order for new capital goods will increase. If there is no shortage of capital goods, No question of new order. Already we have the n of capital goods in the market. The demand for capital goods is equal to supply of capital goods. But here what happens? What is happening here? The demand for capital goods is more than supply of capital goods. That is shortage of capital. Since there is a shortage of capital goods, definitely there would be a new order for these capital goods. So automatically the new capital goods orders demand will be increased. Then what will happen? When the new orders are there for capital goods or capital goods demand will increase due to shortage, what will happen? It automatically reaches the G. What is G? Actual capital accumulation. Actual capital accumulation, say for example, 2 lakh, but demand for capital accumulation 3 lakh. There is a shortage of capital. When shortage of capital happens, exists, then automatically there would be a demand for capital goods. So the new orders will be more in the economy and society to meet this the gap between supply and demand for capital goods. When demand for capital goods increases, automatically it increases actual capital accumulation, that is G. We have already written G, actual capital accumulation. How much capital accumulation we require? 3 lakh worth of machines. But how much we have? Only 2 lakh. So that there is a shortage. So because of this shortage of capital goods, new orders will increase. New orders will be there in the economy for capital goods. When new orders will be there in the economy for capital goods, that means the demand for capital goods increases, it automatically increases G. What is G? Actual capital accumulation. How much shortage is there? 1 lakh. How much we have? 2 lakh. How much we require? 3 lakh. So actual capital accumulation will be increased from 2 to 3 lakh. That is G. In turn, what will happen? It would require more of C. What is C? What is C? We have already written G exceeds GW, actual rate of growth. G exceeds GW, actual rate of growth and warranted rate of growth. And C must be less than CR, actual capital accumulation, and less than actual capital accumulation must be less than CR, capital accumulation required for studied growth. Capital accumulation required for study growth. So for new capital goods, orders increases, it would automatically increases the G, which is the actual rate of growth. When capital accumulation increases, automatically growth rate also increases. We already told you, we have already discussed, I have already explained very clearly. The growth of economy depends on capital accumulation. When more of capital we have, definitely there would be a more growth. So because of the shortage of the capital goods, there would be a new orders for capital goods. When the capital goods order will be increased, the G also automatically increases, that is actual growth rate. And in turn, C also increases because we require more of C. What is C? Actual capital accumulation. So this finally leads to continuous expansion of the economy. Continuous expansion of the economy. There is a shortage between supply and demand for capital goods. Shortage of capital goods will lead to increase in new orders for capital goods. When there is an increase in demand for capital goods, it automatically increases the G. What is G? G is the actual rate of growth rate. When actual rate of growth increases, it automatically requires, internally, it would require the more of C. What is C? Actual capital accumulation. Is actual capital accumulation leading to continuous expansion of the economy. Of course, in another way, on the other hand, if GW warranted growth rate exceeds G, if G exceeds GW, we have discussed. If GW exceeds G, if the actual growth rate falls short of the warranted growth rate, then CR would be less than C. The capital required is less than, to make the study growth rate is less than actual C. Because GW warranted growth rate is very less. Sorry, warranted growth rate is exceeds G. What is X and what is G and what is GW? We have already discussed. Actual growth rate is less than warranted growth rate. That is GW exceeds G. G actual growth rate, GW warranted. If warranted growth rate is more than actual growth rate, automatically leads to fall the shortage of warranted growth. Then automatically the capital required for study growth also is less than actual capital accumulation. If actual growth rate is less, actual capital accumulation is less. The capital requirement for the study growth is less. When capital requirement for study growth is less, automatically C also. The capital requirement for study growth is less than C actual capital accumulation. The actual capital accumulation may be more, but the capital requirement for study growth is less. What is the reason? The warranted growth rate exceeds G. Actual growth rate is less than warranted growth. Since actual growth rate is less than warranted growth rate, capital requirement for study growth is very low. It is less than automatically. So this is simply warranted growth rate. So as of now, we have discussed what is the meaning of Harry-Domer growth models, what are an assumptions of Harry-Domer growth models, then what are the assumptions of Harry model of growth, and what is the explanation. The Harry model based on three important, we concentrated three major issues we have already discussed, and the model based on the following three important rates of growth: actual growth rate, warranted growth rate, and the natural growth rate. Actual growth rate formula GC is equal to S. Warranted growth rate formula GWCR is equal to S. So we have discussed these two types of distinct growth rates which were proposed by Harry. After natural growth rate, we will discuss what is the Domer's growth rate model. Okay, na? Is it clear, Amma?
Okay,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Sir,
Right.
sir,
Thank
initially
you.
I was asked not some message I was dropped.
Sorry?
Initially I was asked one doubt, no, sir. Investment also comes in old classical economics.
Okay.
Can
Ah.
you clear that?
So the
Investment,
difference
savings and
here,
investment will comes into
hmm,
savings and investment will comes into old classical economics, right?
okay.
I'm
But what
asking, is
happens?
that right or not, sir?
Yeah, what happens here? If you remember the JBC market law, supply creates its own demand. They totally focused on supply. Actually, supply creates
Yes,
its
yes.
own demand. Whatever supply is there in the economy, that means output. For that output, the business units have to hire more factor inputs. So whatever the factor inputs, we have already hired in the production process, they will earn some money and income by rendering their services, and in turn they spend this income on the production of the goods and services which are being produced by the business units. So supply creates its own demand. So they focused on supply and Keynes focused on demand. Is it clear? Old classical and classical. They focused on
Yes, yes,
supply,
sir. Clear,
Keynes
clear.
focused on demand.
Yes,
The old classical economists focused on supply side. Keynes focused on demand side, but this Harry Domer model focused on the integration of both supply and demand. We will discuss very clearly in the next preceding classes, sorry, in the successive classes also regarding this supply and demand. When we talk about this micro and macroeconomics also, definitely there is a one concept regarding this JBCA market law and supply creates its own. Okay,
yes, yes, sir. I was already aware of this.
right,
Okay, sir.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now you can exit.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Right.